Hey, what's good, people? Nice to see you guys doing really well. And listen, this is lockdown day 9. I can't believe 9 days. And we're in it for the long haul, so it's going to be a ride. And thanks for you guys who are joining me on this daily journey to go through what we're going through. With a lot of difficulties comes evolution, and we're going to talk about that as well. What I want to touch on first, though, is the security on the issue of the Zoom app. Its popularity is just soaring, guys. It's just knocking it out of the ballpark at the moment. And they're using it for work, they're using it for pleasure, they're using it as lockdowns are being imposed in various different countries. But it's the data security and the privacy issues that are being questioned. And even Boris Johnson last week tweeted a picture of himself using the app, speaking to his cabinet in a meeting room. How secure are those? It's going to ask a lot of questions in terms of how this small company was able to just put an app out there that has exploded. And of course, the app hasn't really been tested for any loopholes. And now it will be. Now they're going to have to either get their backside in gear, or all of these companies and top ministers are going to be told not to use it. Speaking of Boris Johnson, Jeremy Corbyn is leaving now. And he's left I think it was a 3-page letter that he sent to the Prime Minister, and a lot of it had to do with what Labour's been fighting for over the last 3 years. And we're talking about now full PPE for health and social workers, testing. I mean, we're sitting here, guys, still doing 10,000 or less a day, and Germany, they're up to about 60, 70,000 tests per day. So there's something that we're doing which is seriously wrong. And not just that, but we're talking about getting more ventilators from China. Now, this is the problem in terms of the EU and Brexit and everything else. We don't produce nothing anymore. And that's a stark look at really how we're going to survive without the EU. Because what are we actually, even ventilators, a simple thing like ventilators, we can't produce. We have to go to China to get something which we should have been put in place to produce for ourselves. Every other country can do it. Why aren't we doing it? Big shout out to Mercedes F1 team, because you've come up trumps. But the fact of the matter is, there should be money put in place for that. The fact that we were told we should have 30,000 in stock in case of a pandemic, and we've only got 8,000. Doesn't that send alarm bells that we're not doing our job? This is what I couldn't understand. Elections are supposed to be to vote for the things that you need for yourself. Do you need Brexit? How is Brexit going to affect you in your daily life? When you get sick and you need to go to the hospital, how is Brexit going to affect you? If you've got nowhere to live and you need housing, how's Brexit going to affect you? If your children are going to school to try and get an education, how's Brexit really going to affect? It's not going to affect you. Yeah? What's going to affect you is what's going to happen at your council level. So all these people using the last general election as a second referendum, the joke's on you. Because right now, here we are buckling at the knees, and we're having to reach out to China to make a simple thing like ventilators. It's pathetic. Encouraging ex-NHS workers to come back into the scheme. And also, the non-essential businesses. He left a note for Boris Johnson about that, because, look, while we've been telling companies to close down and shut down, there is still a lot of companies out there who want to make their money. And they're still open. And they shouldn't be, because it's creating another problem of self-distancing. So take, for instance, non-essential businesses like construction workers, factory workers, warehouse workers. It makes no sense for them to stay open. They're non-essential. So these people are complaining. We're getting complaints from the workers saying they're too close to their other workers. They're not 2 meters. And remember, 2 meters was originally first suggested. Now it's been said that it could be a longer distance. So only time will tell to see how the government will crack down on that. Because businesses is still trading. And they shouldn't be. They should lock it down and stay at home. So overall, guys, he wants the UK to be a leader in global response, and that ain't happening right now. And in fact, a lot of countries are closing off their borders and just dealing with what they're dealing with. And that is exactly not what the G20 was designed for, not what NATO was designed for. The EU wasn't designed for that. These things were designed to come together to help, whether it be visa, trade, health or anything. I mean, the G20, for instance. The G20 was established in 1999 after a series of major international debt crises. Gordon Brown was a big part of that. Also to unite the world leaders around the shared economic and political and health challenges. Now, health challenges is something very important. This started off with a select group of 7, but right now as we speak, the G20 is 19 countries. Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, Germany, France, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, the Russian Federation, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, South Korea, Turkey, and us in the UK. And really what that means is, if you look at how South Korea has managed to get themselves and their workers protected in this pandemic, we're not doing that. Other countries aren't doing it. There's the only country that are actually speaking and treating people behind plastic sheets where you can put your hands in and you're testing people, and there's no risk to the nurses and the doctors whatsoever. In the UK, every day is a risk because people ain't got PPE, people ain't been trained, college 3rd and 4th year students are being pushed into the fold. It's an absolute nightmare. It's a logistical nightmare, and it really shows how bad we are when it comes to focusing on infrastructure of the things that are important. Yeah? Bailing out the banks, paying cash breaks, tax breaks to the top 1%, that's not important. That's not important. And I'm sure those companies are first in line when things go wrong. Like now, the economy's starting to dip and we're heading into a recession. Those companies, CEO, chairmen that were getting paid huge tax breaks, guess what? They're going to be first in line, doing the Oliver Twist. Please, sir, can I have some more? It's all about money for those people. And at some point, we're the ones that are dictating this narrative because we're voting these people in. And as I said before, big corporations are putting money in MPs' pockets and senators' pockets in the US. Yeah? And the likes of people like Bernie Sanders was trying to break the chain. The way things were ending up, Biden was leading the charge as far as the Democratic nominee goes. So it's a real shame because you're going to get, I hear people like Whoopi Goldberg on The View and other people saying, look, because of what we've gone through with Trump, we just want normal. Normal weren't getting it done. Yeah? Normal was causing your housing to crumble. Normal was dipping your education. Normal was creating college debts that people can't pay. That was normal. Normal ain't good enough. So in the UK, we're even further than that because of what's going on with the Lib Dems and Labour. They're capitulating. And it shows how much they wasn't listening to people and voters in the last election. Although, as I said, there wasn't a last election. It was a second referendum for Brexit. That's what it was. Yeah? It wasn't an election at all. Anybody that thinks it was, don't know what they're talking about. I know people who've never voted for the Tories before in their life and said they never would and ended up voting for them because Boris wanted to get out of Europe. If you're calling that an election, then you're fooling yourself. Overall, I still get people asking me, should I wear a mask? Should I wear a mask? And realistically, guys, you do not need to wear a mask. I've been saying this for a long time. The disease, you can't catch it unless you touch your face with the pandemic, with the virus. If you're out there and you've touched things, remember I said when you're buying fruits and vegetables, you've got to wash them up. When you take them home, wash them up, yeah? And then wash your hands. As long as you're washing your hands, you can touch any surface you want, as long as you're not touching your face, yeah? You can touch any surface. As long as you're washing your hands afterwards regularly, yeah, you will not be able to catch the virus. It just doesn't work that way, yeah? It doesn't transmit that way. So wearing a mask is no need. The only time you need to wear a mask, guys, is if you're taking care of a person with suspected infections or if you're coughing or sneezing or anything like that. And listen, big shout out to my cousin Millie. She's shouted out that if you see someone coughing or sneezing, it doesn't mean they've got the coronavirus. It doesn't mean that they've got the virus because we're entering spring. And I know my wife is walking up and down after being in the garden sneezing because she has hay fever, not the virus. Two different things there. So big shout out to you, Millie, for that. But guys, overall, let's keep calm and carry on. As Bob Marley said, don't worry about a thing because every little thing is going to be all right. Yeah? Embrace the positives. This is an evolutionary process and it will only lead to us being stronger. Since the dawn of time, humans have evolved. We've become stronger, faster, and that's just the evolutionary process. Yeah, it's led to the emergence. It's not just physical, it's mental as well, because it's led to the emergence of computers and modern medicine's ability to keep us alive for longer. Guys, humans are still evolving. And if you look at something even millions of years ago, look at smallpox. Yeah, for an example, people died from smallpox and their genes were not passed on because they were wiped out, because the people who have had it have probably had children, thus contributing to the human gene pool. Yeah, and this is the reason why we're able to adapt to this. It's the same people that had measles, hundreds of centuries ago. People never used to survive through that thing. Now people are surviving through it. Why? Because the gene pool's been moved through the phases, moved through the centuries, and humans have built up an immunity. Look, humans are evolving, and they will continue to evolve because that's just who we are. Yeah, we might think that because we have a culture with all kinds of medical interventions and technologies that we're immune to a natural selection, but the nature proceeds as usual. Evolution will find a way. And that's all I really want to say to you positively, guys. We will get through this. Yeah, stay at home, stay safe, love your family, subscribe to this channel, and take care of yourselves. Peace out, man. Nice one, guys.